Fighting Blindness Canada's Young Leaders Program is a career-oriented initiative that provides young people, aged 15 to 30, who are blind or partially sighted in Canada with the tools they need to develop skills and pursue rewarding careers. The webinar you're about to watch is a recording. To learn more about this program, visit us online at fightingblindness.ca under the Get Involved tab. The Young Leaders Program is proudly supported by RBC Future Launch. We hope you enjoy this webinar and share your thoughts with us in the comment section below.
Sounds good. Well, let's get started here. Gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, our keynote for this weekend. Lowell Taylor is a man with little sight but a lot of vision. He has first-hand experience in turning obstacles into opportunities. He's a registered psychologist, husband, father of 2 sons, has RP, and he's also participated in the Amazing Race Canada. He's the first individual with visual impairment to go on the show. And on top of that, he's training right now for track and road cycling, the 2024 Paralympic Games. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you all Lowell Taylor. Lowell.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. Always a bit awkward to hear people talk about you in those kind of bios, but it's pretty neat to be on this side of things. I used to be a young leader. I guess I'm out of that category now. My birthday, I'm going to be 40 next month and transitioning to kind of this middle stage of life. And I'm really, really excited to be with you all today to share some of my struggles, to share some of my ups and downs in my journey as an individual with vision loss. And then now to be at the space where I can share some of my lessons learned along the journey, and also to hopefully give a little bit of inspiration to some young leaders into where things are possible. I was sitting in, well, not Zoom back then, but similar stage in life, trying to figure out what to do, looking ahead to the blank slate that is life with a lot of trepidation and worry. There's a lot of darkness in the future of blindness, and I didn't know what that would look like. And so now that I have the gift of hindsight, I can see the path that I've taken and a lot of the gifts. So hopefully today you can hear some of my stories, some of my passion, and my big hope is that today each one of you can find something in my story that you can take to give you some courage as you step forward into your futures. This idea of overcoming our obstacles, having the difficult times in our life, learning from them, and seeing the opportunities that are on the other side of this. And really, I've lived that journey. I'm continuing to live the journey. And the reason I'm speaking to you all right now is because of these obstacles that I've experienced in my life. I would really like to have a bit of interaction. I really prefer in-person sessions, just so that I can see your faces and actually hear you laugh when I make a joke. It's always a bit awkward when I make a joke and nobody laughs. So I would like to stop throughout. If you have any questions, please leave questions in the comment box throughout, and then we'll have a couple breaks, one in the middle and one at the end. I would love to answer your questions. Some of it might come out in the talk, but other ones, please ask questions in the comment box. I think Morgan or somebody else will be reading the questions in between. So let me know if you have those questions, and I'd love to interact with you a little bit. Right now, I would like to get a sense of who is on the other side of my screen. I see a few names on the top, but just wondering, Morgan or anybody else online, how many people do we have here joining us today, and what age ranges would you all be in? If anybody's can unmute.
Yeah, Lowell, we have currently 25 participants here. Young leaders, I believe, are between the age of 17 and 30, if I'm not mistaken.
15 and 30.
15 and 30. There we go.
Sorry, what was that age? 15?
15 and 30.
15 to 30. Wow, awesome. What a great age range. Those are some of my greatest ups have been in those age ranges in life, and some of my deepest lows absolutely were in some of those ages. So whether you are in an up right now, in a low, or in a plateau in your life, in your sense of meaning and purpose, I really do hope that something today can resonate with you to give you hope. I'm trying to create a sense in my life of what is the mission statement that I have as I go through life? And Seinfeld his idea was to bring humor to the mundane, and Ellen is to bring joy. And there's different people have different ideas. Apple was to think differently. The goal that I have for my life is to help show hope. I want to give hope to others. And that resonates in everything that I do. So if you walk away with a little bit of hope for your dark times today, then hey, that was a success on my end. Hopefully there's some laughter, maybe even some tears through the process. So that's awesome. So I was really doubtful of my future when I was growing up as an individual with RP, with vision loss, and not seeing a future of hope and of worth, not seeing where I could belong, where I would fit in, always seeing my brokenness and not any of the opportunities. And that creates a lot of emotion. And for each of you to be here today, there's something within you. There's a drive, there's a fuel, there's a passion, there's a drive that's going to help us get through the difficult times. And so this is an amazing opportunity to be connected to others, to learn, to be curious about life, about others, about people's stories. And that has been a big lesson for me, provide hope and to hear people's stories. So now I'm no longer a young leader, but hopefully you will all take that mantle as I turn 40 and you can become these leaders for the next generation as well. And maybe I can lead in this kind of middle-aged piece too. So I do have many hats that I wear, none currently for those who can't see, but I am a visually impaired individual. I have retinitis pigmentosa. It's X-linked. And I have been going blind my entire life. So before I could speak, my mom remembers me reaching out my hand at night, trying to find my way. And when I was in grade 1, that's when they found out my grandpa, he had visual impairment as well. He was being diagnosed at that time, but he was going fully blind. I'll talk a bit about him in the future. My mom as well was losing her vision more. She's a carrier. And then my brother and I, my older brother, 5 years older than I, we were being diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa and complete night blind. I was continuing to lose that throughout my life. And currently, as I speak to you, I'm completely night blind. I have lots of fun stories, as most of you will, about that. And then during the day, I can see through about 8 degrees of my central vision. And I can still read the screen. I can still see a little bit through the center vision, but I don't have any peripheral at all. So that's one of my hats. I'm an individual with a invisible disability. People often don't see that I'm disabled or have other impairments, but I am somebody who does have that every day, and I have to deal with a world that sees and thinks I see. And that creates some conflict at times, that as I continue to navigate my life, I find ways through that. So one of my hats, an individual with a visual impairment, yes. Another one is I am an athlete. I'm going to talk a lot about that today and how the importance of sport has been for me to get through my life. Physical movement, it's my therapy, it's my support system in a large way. And so part of my story is turning this obstacle into an opportunity to travel the world and try new things and be an athlete. I've also become a psychologist. So my daytime job, you're actually seeing inside of my therapy room. So there's the big therapy couch. This is where I work every day. Well, nearly every day, 5 to 6 days a week, seeing clients to help journey with them through their difficulties. So I work mostly with trauma. I work with first responders primarily. So that is firefighters, emergency medical personnel. So those would be the EMS providers, the paramedics, the people who drive the ambulances. And I also work with police, RCMP, and veterans and 911 dispatchers. So that would be my main people that I work with. And I also work with individuals struggling with anxiety, depression, grief, loss, substance use. That is my daytime job. And I'm really blessed and honored to have a job where I can talk to people. Part of my story was trying to find out where to go in life. And I found a career where I can sit. People come to me in my office. If I were to tilt my computer directly to the side, my house is the next door over. So I'm in an office building right now, but across the alley is my home. So I walk 30 seconds to work. I've organized my life to be close to home. I don't have to drive or take public transportation to make my life simple. And people come to me and I can get paid to listen to them and see them with my heart and speak with them and give them hope. So I've orchestrated my life to find a way through despite having a visual impairment. It took a while to get here. I'll tell you some of the ups and downs and the bumps along the way. Another part of my story is I'm a father. I have 2 little boys. They are age 8 and 10, and they bring an immense amount of joy in my life. And growing up, I didn't think that I would actually be a father. I didn't think that anybody would want to marry a blind guy, that I would have anything to offer. So part of my own depression and hopelessness and helplessness and worthlessness that I felt during my darkness would be, I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to give in these ways, but I felt my brokenness would get in the way of that. And then speak to about that other role. I'm a husband. I can share my life with somebody else. And I have somebody in my life who knew that I was going blind and who chose to be on that journey with me. And my wife is amazing. And if you've seen The Amazing Race, you know that. You saw us cruise along together in life. We've done so much else. And I'm going to talk about that through today. But that companionship has meant the world to me. And it's been a big part of how come I can continue to live my life having that support. But for many, many years in my childhood, I didn't think that I would find somebody who would love me like that. So let's go to the story. Again, keep any questions you have, write them in the chat box, or kind of midway through, I'm going to kind of have a chance for you all to ask questions. So when I was born with retinitis pigmentosa, and I didn't feel like I belonged, I couldn't be involved in the sports like other kids. I was an outsider. In many ways, outsiders get bullied. It wasn't just the vision, though. When I was just young, I was 3 years old. We were out with the family. I have 1 older brother who has RP, 2 older sisters, and a younger sister, and all of them are free from retinitis pigmentosa. And we lived on a farm north of Calgary, Alberta. And we were driving home, chasing the cows home for evening milking. And my mom went into the field, and the 4 siblings and I jumped on the front of our little car, our station wagon, and we were all cheering our mom on as she's valiantly chasing the cows home for evening milking. Mom comes back into the car that's parked on the side road. All of the kids jump off the side into the ditch, crawl up into the vehicle. Mom turns around, checks, make sure everybody okay, and then starts driving forward. Unfortunately, little Lowell was too afraid to jump off the side into the ditch. And instead, he was climbing down the front hood of the station wagon. Little Lowell's mom didn't see him. She couldn't see, and all those kids thought that they were 5. And she started to move forward, and the front wheel, or the bumper, knocked little Lowell over, and the front wheel drove over top of little Lowell's stomach. It didn't kill me. That would have changed this talk a lot. But it did leave me with some long-term impairments. So it pinched a nerve in my bowels, which made it so I didn't know if I had to go to the bathroom or not, which led to some pretty crappy moments in my childhood. I was that fat, blind, stinky kid. That's how I was in school. That's how I saw myself, and that's what the bullies saw. I was bullied a lot at school, got in a lot of fights, hurt kids, then hurt other kids, and I was a hurting little boy. And I didn't feel like I belonged. It was a really long childhood without many friends. I remember in grade 7 being voted by the girls in the class to be the least likely to ever have a girlfriend. Oh, ouch. I don't think I wanted a girlfriend in grade 7. Probably too afraid of them, but still that sense, I already knew that I wasn't enough. I didn't belong, that I was unlovable. That's what I thought. And so this was confirmation of that I was too different. And so through this struggle of dealing with the hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness, not belonging, feeling alone, crying myself to sleep most nights, it was a really painful childhood. It wasn't all bad. I had a lot of people who loved me. My family was very supportive. My social support system, we had teachers who cared, who said some really empowering things that helped me get through some times. I remember one teacher said to me, "Lowell Taylor, that's a pretty important name. One day you're going to do something great." And I still remember that little moment of kindness that I remember in school that helps me get through the darkness. It's one of those reminders that we need to be careful with our words. The words can cut us down, but a good word of encouragement can fuel somebody for a lifetime. So let's continue to kindly treat people the way they need to be, see them, hear them, speak well to them. So I got through this with the help and the support of community, some deep tenacity with the encouragement and the example of my grandpa. My grandpa was visually impaired himself. He went fully blind at the age of 40, but he continued to farm until his 80s. He was a man of deep resilience. He was really, really amazing. He built buildings. He built the tools and the saws and the equipment to build the buildings. He put ropes all around his farm so he knew where to go with his cane. He would even drive through the fields and plant the fields by dragging something big on the tractor so the next loop he could drive within that rut. He was a pretty amazing man. He was resilient, went horseback riding in his 80s in the mountains, and he just kept working and doing a lot. He gave me an example of what it was like to be a leader. He led CNIB support groups in his 80s. He taught me the importance of exercise when I wasn't. He would walk every day. He would bike on his little stationary bike in his house to stay strong. And he could listen with his heart. So this was a mind, this was a person who didn't see with his eyes, but he saw with his heart. And that's been a big example for me to get through the difficult times, a resilient man. So my childhood was a struggle, but I was able to get through it with the help and the support and the example of others, people who are going to help get me through those hard times. But I felt broken. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I didn't have anything to offer this world. What could I do as a blind guy? What could I do, right? I started to see all the things in my life, ironically, see the things that I could not do. I can't drive. I mean, at that stage I could, I'll talk about that in a second, but that I couldn't be a husband. I couldn't do these things. I couldn't do all of these different things in my life. And instead of that, now learning of all the things that I can do. But in that time, trying to find my way through, not fitting in. So then young adulthood, with the support and some passion, I decided to go off into university. And at that stage, I had a little more vision than I did now. I could still drive, got my first vehicle, which is one of the things that I work with some other visually impaired individuals who were never able to drive. And that has its own grief and loss as well. At that age, I was 18, I was able to drive, probably longer than I should have. I have some pretty sketchy experiences of driving through ditches and feeling my way home through the driving. So don't do that, not safe. But at that time, I went off to university, the University of Lethbridge, and I took new media. So this is visual arts, animation, design, not a very good option for a blind guy. It's possible we can do all sorts of hard things, but I think I made my life a little harder than it needed to be, losing sight and not being able to see. I finished my degree and realizing that this was going to be a pretty hard career in my life. And so I was starting to crash down with this big debt and this university degree that I couldn't do anything with, or was struggling to find a job with. This was about the time that I was at your age, about that kind of 20, 21, and I have a degree. I pushed through, but now what do I do with it? How do I find a job? And I struggled. I moved back home with my parents, something I hadn't planned to do. My girlfriend, which I found somebody at university who loved me and cared about me, and we started dating, but then we broke up at the time. We got back together. It's Julie. The story ends well with her. But at that time, feeling she was dumping me because of my eyes, that was more me than her. But we were at a stage not knowing what to do next. So now I'm home with a degree I can't do anything with. So I thought I couldn't do so much in my life. I'm giving up my license at that age. I went to the ophthalmologist at age 24. The ophthalmologist says, hey, it's not safe for you to drive anymore. And they had to write a letter to Alberta Transportation to take away my license. So I fall back into this deep hole in my young adult life. I had been a leader at university in clubs. I had been trying to seek and travel and do these things to move my life forward, take opportunities to be a leader. But now my life starts to feel like it's falling apart again. I feel more brokenness. I have a degree I can't do anything with. My long-term girlfriend of 3-4 years, we break up. I lose my license. and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And I fell into a deep time of depression, of anxiety about the future, a lot of hopelessness in that time, trying to find my way through. So at that age, things were falling apart, continuing to feel more broken. So what do we do when we have that fear? Trying to move through, trying to see what we're doing ahead, and trying to move into life. And this is where I want to hear from some of you. I'd like to hear if you feel comfortable. Vulnerability is tough, especially in a stage like this, but I would be interested to hear what some of your fears are for the future. If you resonate with anything that I've said so far about how I felt in that stage in life. So if anybody, just a few of you, if you have any thoughts on what your fears are at this stage about the future. In this next, thank you. I want to move into this next chapter of the conversation and how we move forward. And I don't want to have this be, hey, be like Lowell. This isn't becoming Lowell. I tried to be somebody else once and it didn't go over very well. You got to be yourself. You got to find who you are. And it's hard because that takes trial and error and some falling on your face a few times. The world doesn't need people who are lit up about the same things, but the world does need people who are lit up about something. And so I would encourage you to be curious about what excites you, what is bubbling within your heart to try, even if people don't understand it. How do you get through that? I was talked out of trying to become a psychologist at some times, talked out of things, but something felt true in my heart to keep going through that process. And I'm so grateful that I did. So passion, we need passion and purpose. We need meaning in our life. And I want to just show a couple of ways that I found meaning in my life, and then to just kind of some examples of what that might look like for you as you find that in your life to help you get through this stage. One of the themes that just came up in the conversations back and forth was this sense of, what about children and what about passing this on? And my grandpa on his deathbed, when I was talking with him in the hospital when he was passing away, he still had regret and remorse. And he said, sorry for giving you the visual impairment. Sorry for causing your blindness. He didn't cause my blindness. It wasn't his fault. He gave me a great sense of humor and a great work ethic. And his genes gave me many great things. He didn't choose to do this. And so he taught me so many lessons. And that guilt, I think, is human because he cared. We had the same concerns when we were going to have children. And we went through the genetic process to see what we'd have. Because it's X-linked, we'd realize that if we had girls, they would likely have it or be carriers. And our advice going through the counselors and genetic process was trust, and in the future, hopefully there is something to do with them. But if that would have been a selection, I wouldn't be alive if I was selected out. So I'm okay. My kids, I can provide them hope if they had visual impairments. We have 2 boys, which means they have my Y chromosome, which they do not have RP. But if they were girls and had it, I wouldn't love them less. And I would give them a pretty good example of how to follow through that. So it's scary to have kids. It's scary I had my first or my really big latest grief around being a blind dad. I can't drive them. I can't throw balls with them. I can't go fishing with them. I can't. That's what I was feeling. But then coming through to the other side of what can I offer and how can I be an amazing dad? So passion. So family, that's one of my big passions. Family, the love you get from relationships, really, in the end, it's the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. It's not the stuff. It's not the job. It's not the experiences. Those are all amazing. And usually they're appreciated within the relationships. So foster your relationships. And so as I go through, I'm just trying to figure out, I have so much I could say, but I have to edit out as I go. I think love and marriage, being a father, being a psychologist, and some of those worries, like, how, will somebody hire me eventually? I started my own company now, and so I'm my own boss, which is awesome. I can come to work when I need or not, if I need to travel. So there are options available, but I had to get my first jobs, and it's hard. Every time it says in a job application needs driver's license, I put my application in anyways and see if there's a way. So for periods of time for my first jobs to get to the hospital or clinics, I'd take all the buses, I'd take Ubers between places I'd have to go. So I found ways. You get creative. Even if it says you must have a driver's license, I found that, hey, they're for the right person, the right passion, they're willing to hire. but it's very, very hard at times. Another passion that I have, so family, being a psychologist, this career, travel and experiences. I mean, I'm a sensation seeker, maybe because I don't have much vision. I love skydiving and hiking and flying and blind skiing and snowboarding and surfing. So if it's something crazy, I've probably done it. I love to do crazy activities, blind skiing now. And then my latest one is this elite sport journey, paracycling. If any of you are looking for, especially if you're younger, if you're looking, I wish I had known about parasport when I was younger. I wish I'd found that community. I found it later after I became a psychologist in 2015. I found out about paratriathlon and then got into paracycling. I'm now a carded athlete, so the government pays me money to fly around the world and ride bikes. Very cool. They would also pay for my education, but I already have it, so I don't need that. Unfortunately, I needed it then. So if anybody would like to get involved with parasport, paracycling, goalball, there's all sorts of rowing. If you have anything, you don't have to like sports, but if you do, I really wished I'd found that community, a place where I could belong and experience this. So I got into paratriathlon. I went and I won a national medal in the paratriathlon in 2015. Then 2017, I was invited to the national cycling team. And since then, I've won 2 silver medals at the Para Pan Am Games in Lima, Peru. I've traveled around the world to Belgium, to the Netherlands, to all over Canada, to the States. We've traveled and had these amazing experiences. I got back from World Championships this year in Portugal. These amazing, amazing experience. Next year, Paris, all sorts of really cool experiences that I'm able to get on this team. This year, first year, I just got back from Montreal winning 2 national championships in cycling. I've been chasing that since 2015. I got both gold medals, the fastest tandem bike in Canada now. And we're leaving next month on my birthday, in between my birthday, will be 2 races. And I will go for my track cycling, and that's racing on an indoor velodrome. And we'll hopefully bring home the 2 gold medals in that sport as well, trying to qualify for the World Championships in Paris. So this idea, this passion of mine that I have for sport, it helped me with my mental health. It helped me feel that confidence. It was a big part of my confidence that I have now this, I've got through my education, I got through the sport, I have a place that I belong. I had a big crash, crashed biking down a mountain and smashed my face, got a big cut in my lip. And but what happens when you crash? What happens when you hit the brick? What happens when you hurt yourself? When you crash your bike, when you fall down, you get back up, you keep going. So my message to you today is not that it's going to be easy, or you're going to find the answer and it's going to be all easy and roses and lollipops. There might be some lollipops along the way, but get back up, keep going, keep following your heart. And then the opportunities start to come. Our youngest son, when he was really young, he saw the disability placard and he said, "Hey, look, Mom and Dad, there's a place for people to park, and that's for people with possibilities." And we really love that, because even from a young age, this idea of seeing the possibility, not the disability. And I've taken that to see, and the possibilities that I have because I'm visually impaired. I was selected to be the first visually impaired contestant in Amazing Race history anywhere around the world. And so we did that in 2016, had an amazing experience. That's available on Crave TV if you want to see or listen to that, or however it's able to be done with your vision. But it's pretty fun. My wife and I had an awesome experience through that. And that opened up more doors. We become public speakers, sharing our story of teamwork and resilience and mindset. We were asked to I helped develop a TV show. If any of you watch AMI TV, you can watch 2 seasons of a show called Mind, Set, Go that I helped create the idea for. It's helping to share stories of Paralympians to help regular individuals overcoming their stuckness in life, a lot of them with weight loss, but we help people. We did that filming in Vancouver, and it was a really amazing experience. So Mind, Set, Go on AMI TV. AMI TV did a documentary on my story called Obstacles and Opportunities. And I continue to do AMI mental health segments for their AMI This Week TV show, talking about mental health topics. And you can see those on their website as well, or on their accessible app. You can find those as well. International elite sports, karting, going around the world and getting paid to do it. And now my wife and I have a podcast called Obstacles and Opportunities. If any of you are interested, we just did a recording this morning with Shauna Ryan, an amazing visually impaired goal ball athlete and cyclist. And we've interviewed many individuals with visual impairments and other struggles, Paralympians and Olympians, to hear their mindset. So Obstacles and Opportunities with Lowell and Julie. And we get to hear people's stories and share those stories with others. So I'm going to go through quickly because I want to get a couple questions from you, and we're running out of time, sadly. But I'm just going to kind of a rapid fire some of the concepts that I've been curious, I've learned, and I have to incorporate into my life. So I won't go into a deep dive. That might have to be a part 2 someday if Morgan and crew want me back. So some quick lessons. Everyone has a story and everyone can teach you something. So listen, ask questions. Many stories of those are on our podcast, so you can listen to those. Some of these lessons come from them too, but the importance of kindness, courage, helping others, serving others, the ideas of grit and determination, resilience, having a big support network and a community where you belong, the power of positivity, the power of gratitude in life, this idea that you can't change your situation, but you can only change your response to it, how you respond to others. You can't change them. You got to accept how they react. Don't shit on them, accept them, and then make your answers. Choose your attitude. You can become bitter or better. So I want you to become better individuals because of this. This idea that negativity, a mindset looking for all the negatives, can be more debilitating than a disability, right? So positivity can get us through. Pain leaves gifts if you're looking for them. You need to be prepared, be ready for things that are coming in your life. Use time, have a lot of patience. We need that as visually impaired people sometimes. I heard it earlier about not accessing the tools that are available. I had to get a cane, go through that process of looking different, and the cane's been awesome for me. The technology, assistive technology, asking for help at university from your employer. Don't be afraid to be different because you are, and it's okay. And be confident in that and use the tools that are available to you. I'm hitting you fast. There's lots here. Set goals, be dedicated to the process, continue to see with your heart, hold on to hope. Realize that brokenness is beautiful, right? When we change our mindset, we can change our life. We create that resilience when we change to a positive mindset. We need to limit the voice of the bully from other people who are bullying us, but also the bully that we've invited inside, the bully that said, I can't do this. I have to shut him down sometimes and say, hey, wait, bully, I'm sick of you treating me that way. I can do these things. I can do this. So chill. And this idea of focusing on love, taking care of our mind, body, and soul. And all of those, I have a bunch of mental health clips, and they're all accessible on AMI, but maybe I'll send them to Morgan if there's a way to send out, and you can hear some more of my thoughts on some of these topics. So with that being said, I have only 5 minutes left to hear from you for questions and comments. So if you can, just to make sure everybody has a chance, if you can keep your questions short, and I'll try to keep my answers short. But if we have any questions, Morgan, or you want to facilitate this part?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just